So the next region is the Southwest, which includes fewer states but is still big because all of them are huge. Those states are Arizona, New Mexico, southern Nevada, and southern Utah.
Okay, so the plus points are that it seems to be warm all year, looking at the weather, but that heat is a dry heat, so it doesn't feel as oppressive as the humid heat that you'd get in the south. As well as being very hot, it's very sunny. There are 300 days of sunshine per year, which is very high. The mixture of that and the landscape is a deserty landscape, means that the place feels very, very epic and alien. And I mean alien in that some of it looks like if Mars had just been colonised. So I like the look of the Southwest. In Arizona they have the cactuses, and in New Mexico you have these enormous expanses. It's strange, but in a good way. It was not as cheap as the South, but cheaper than the Northeast. The people there were very friendly. We could speak to people, and that's important if you're going to move to a new area. I don't really know that much about native art or the Spanish expansion, but it feels like it's more deeply embedded into the area. Like the architecture, they had some, I don't know what it is, but like it was like abstract native art. Even in things like bridges and stuff. In New Mexico and Arizona, the architects of houses had gone along with sensible designs for dry regions. The houses had terracotta, they were in the Spanish style. The architecture in the region matched the landscape.
Yes, I think a related thing that they did is instead of having yards with grass, most people just said, no, we live in the desert, and they would have a desert scape where they might have some cactuses or other plants that needed next to no water. And I liked that. I liked that they went with it in a very complete way.
Yes, the conquistadors and the native tribes were there. But apart from that, it feels like they're very new. The states were made states, I think, within the early 20th century. Seeing if we moved there, we'd be new. It's probably good that everyone else is a little bit new too. Also, as for it being alien, having Roswell there, and I think that isn't Area 51 in Nevada?
Yes.
There might actually be aliens there. The downside is, I don't think either of us liked Nevada just because of the pervasiveness of gambling. It was just everywhere. I don't think I can live with, I don't know, I just didn't like it. And the other thing is water is very expensive. We spoke to people in Rio Rancho, and they're just telling us about how much it costs to have even a small patch of lawn. But then you don't have a small patch of lawn, so that's all right. I think that looking at the weather, I think cooling costs are going to be quite high.
I think our number one city was the Phoenix metropolitan area. It seemed like lots of the suburbs, and possibly even the city centre itself, were viable. And we spoke to lots of people in other parts of the country who had lived in that area and had only nice things to say about it, unless they lost their house in the 2008 crash. But even then, that was often still the only negative that they brought up. Also, there seemed to be a lot of tech coming into Chandler, which is almost a suburb of a suburb, in that it was next to Mesa, which is then a suburb of Phoenix. A good thing about Phoenix, Arizona, is we looked it up on Wikipedia, and they are actually called Phoenicians. So, yes. +1 for Phoenix for picking the coolest thing that was obvious to call yourselves.
Yes.
And our runner-up city was an unusually strong runner-up, in that if we move to Phoenix and get sick of the heat, we will definitely want to check out Albuquerque, New Mexico, which was still in the desert, but it was a cooler desert. The people there were extremely friendly, to the point that Chris is still communicating with several of them. They were so nice and continue to be. Yes. So that's a big plus for New Mexico, although New Mexico didn't seem to have quite as much tech, although it does have some because of the military.
Mm. The sunsets. The sunsets in Albuquerque look amazing. It just was really impressive, and I like that area.
Also, Albuquerque had one of the best Chineses of the... which is a small thing, but it's harder to find good Chinese food than you'd think. That is a tie between Warwick, Rhode Island, and Albuquerque, New Mexico for the best Chinese takeaway of the trip.
Oh, and in the south, there was the very large array. A huge, high-altitude, flat field full of dishes, radio telescope dishes, and that looked very weird, and it was so quiet. I think both states, possibly New Mexico a bit more, the air felt so fresh. It was just clean. It didn't really have pollutants large cities put into the air, so I thought that was a good plus.
Yes, the Southwest is excellent, and if we don't move there, we will definitely visit. If anything, we saved lots of things in Arizona and New Mexico that we didn't do because we knew we'd be back. We didn't go to Sedona, even though lots of people told us to. We still haven't seen the Grand Canyon, although we did see a canyon, which was still pretty good. Yes, the Southwest is excellent.